So, welcome to another day of the Synchronistic Wealth Activation Global Party. And I'm so excited to bring to you today a wonderful, amazing woman. We actually recently just connected, and ever since we started talking to each other, that one conversation turned into a 3 hour conversation, and we co created something so special for you called the Fusion Chamber and alchemic process. And really wanted you to experience this. But first of all, before we go into that, I want to share with you how amazing this woman is. She is the author of Money is Love. She has a passion to bring light into the dark corners of our hearts and minds to help shift human consciousness up into the vibration of universal love. She has been speaking to this purpose internationally for over 25 years. And her groundbreaking book that I just mentioned, Money is Love, it's considered one of the most foundational works of sacred economics movement. And she showed us how to reconnect money to the divine feminine and transform it into an agent for personal and global prosperity. She has another book called Embracing Your Power Woman, which is enthusiastically endorsed by Deepak Chopra and so many other famous people, and is a radical program that gives women in the second half of life the skills to recognize, embrace, and embody their divine feminine power, step into leadership roles to co-create new sustainable solutions and society as we all thrive. She's done so much in books, workshops, meditation, trains so many people in creating this beautiful magic and alchemy between energy and material. And I'm so honored to bring her on today because she's been in 8 months of deep training with the guidances of spirituality and energetics and really working on it. And this is one of her debut moments of coming back out with all of the new wisdom and the updated and enhanced versions of alchemy today. So I want to put our hearts together, our hands together, and our openness together to welcome Barbara Wilder. Woo!
Oh, hello, honey. It's so good to be with you. What fun to meet you. What a joy. We did have a great time in our 3 hour conversation. We went so many myriad places.
So many dimensions and so many places, and we have so many interesting just ideas floating as well that's I can't wait to explore further. And so, Barbara, like, you've been just so in tune with all of this amazing work and energy around the topics of love and money and light bodies and translating energy into material, and your anthropology background and all of that. Describe to us a little bit more about how you got into this, and specifically like how this light body works in us.
Well, I started working in a school called Actualism many decades ago. And it was a Hermetic mystery school where we were taught all the ancient teachings of Agni Yoga and fire breathing yoga and light and transforming with light. So I've been doing that. I was in the school for 11 years. And then when I left the school, I started working with my teachers on the higher planes, and all my teachers on the higher planes, almost all, that's not true, but most of them were feminine beings, and this was back in the 1980s. And I became aware of the power of the divine feminine that was breaking through and I even had an amazing vision in a stone circle in England where it opened up, and I was shown the power of the divine feminine from ancient times. And ever since then, things have just been growing, because they've been growing from the inside of the earth. It's Mother Earth's energy. It's not just heavenly energy anymore. We're reconnecting. We're reconnecting to the mother energy, and that's where we've been cut off from our connection to actual divine, sacred money. Because when the mother energy is involved, there's just abundance for all, and it's just there. But we have been living for about 5,000 years disconnected from that. So now, as we're moving up into this, toward this, the marriage of the divine feminine with the sacred masculine, and I hope, I want men to understand we're not here to take over. We're not coming out with all of this amazing, powerful energy to become another patriarchy, only in girls in stilettos. It's it's just because we've been sitting in the background holding the energy, and we're coming out now so we can all get married and be happy and move into this, out of duality into unity, into oneness, into, and so how I got together with money was, uh, I, you always, get what you need to learn. And I had, it was in the early 90s, and my mother had just died and disinherited me. And then a year later, I moved to Boulder, Colorado from Los Angeles, where I worked in the movie industry, so that I could become a light energy healer teacher, and went bankrupt. And so I was bankrupt, but I was deeply spiritual. I worked with light. I knew I was following guidance. And one day, somebody came to my house and they said they were going to go hear this man speak about crop circles. And he was from England. And I love crop circles. And I said, can I come? And they said, of course, come. And so we went, and we stood in the back. It was just at a house. It was a house party. It was his 80th birthday. And he was standing on the, in front of the fireplace giving a little talk. So we stood in the back so not to disturb. And he was talking about crop circles. I was fascinated. And then he saw me and he stopped talking. He stopped right in the middle of a sentence and he said, I just have to tell you that money is love. And then he went right back to where he was talking, where he broke his sentence. And I all of a sudden felt this incredible warmth in my heart. And I went, oh, that's truth. That's truth. And I may have even said it out loud. I can't remember. It was one of those moments in your life where the energy is so intense that it's, and then of course my resistant mind, right, said, well, don't be ridiculous. You're bankrupt and disinherited, disowned. Your money is not love. And I went, oh, yes, it is. I went, oh, yes, it is. And that moment in time, I went up to him afterwards and I said, tell me more. And he said, I don't know anymore. He said, I just heard some people talking about it in Scotland just before I left. And last night before I went to sleep, there was a ball of pink light came in front of me, and I heard the words, money is love. And when you walked in, that pink ball was in front of you. And I just had to say, and I realized I had to say money is love. And so basically, it's the pink ball's in your court, right? Take it. And so it's, and that energy of it just truly infused me. And from that point on, I was just driven. I mean, it was, really true inspiration. I had to find out what that meant, just to find out what it meant. And so I read every book I could read on the history of money and everything. And but I'd already been studying all the goddess cultures, the prehistoric cultures, and that's when I finally was taken by that studying back into the origins of money, when money was sacred, when money was sacred. And
Amazing. Yeah, and I know that so many results have shown up because you started embodying money as love. And a lot of service oriented entrepreneurs, especially light workers, they know this, right? And they always use service and they love contributing. However, sometimes when people are so in their service, they're afraid or they end up undercharging or afraid of charging their worth. And so how do you balance money as love and the experience of giving from a place of abundance and always wanting to give, but also receiving?
well, first of all, it's such a, I mean, it's the perfect question. I mean, it's the question we're all asking constantly because we are in the process of transforming the way money works on the planet. Because money, the way money works on the planet means there's some people that get a whole bunch and some people that don't get any, and lots and lots and lots of people that don't get enough. Um, and everybody is really here to bring forth each one of our gifts and be supported by Mother Earth, by just so that we just have to change our consciousness, and we have to change our consciousness with light, because as we sit here, we live in a lie. We have lived in a lie for 5,000 years that there's not enough to go around. And we have to break out of living in that lie. And therefore, we have to start thinking of money in a whole different way, in a whole different way. And and so the giving part has to be matched by the receiving part. The receiving part has to be matched by the giving part. The, the receiving part is the feminine. The giving part is the masculine. We live in a yin and yang body. We live within masculine and feminine lives within us. When people are talking about twin flames, the twin flames we really need to marry are inside of ourselves, because that's where we learn that giving and receiving is simultaneous. Because so many, especially women, so many women say, how much more can I give? I've given and given and given. I give all my, and you go to prosperity, you know, groups over, constantly, they just keep saying, give, give, give. And nobody says receive, receive, receive. Because in the Bible, in the Christian Bible, because I know we're talking over internationally, um, in the Christian Bible, and I think it actually is also in the Judaic Bible, it says it is more blessed to give than to receive. And that lives in our consciousness. And so therefore, to receive is a lower thing. It's a lower thing. But when you think about it, what it is that's just another structure of the patriarchy, of the dominator culture. Because the receiver, if you look at what happens with men and women and making babies, the receiver is the mother, is the woman, is the womb, where where life grows. Where life grows, that's got to be equal. It can't be lower than. And so that's part of this entire shift. This whole shift is that giving and receiving are not only equal, they're simultaneous. When the sperm hits the ovary, that's giving and receiving. That's where we want to be. That's the way the universe is created. That's how everything is created.
In this new paradigm of love and money, when we were having our conversation, I also noticed very clearly how intimate that experience is. When you're working with money as love, it's not just this love on a Hallmark card or a love that you Oh, I love this animal. This love is so vulnerable, so intimate, and it creates a lot of space for healing, but also fear because, it requires a level of openness to allow yourself to receive on that level. And it is incredibly sacred. So, describe why it feels so raw to accept money as love.
because we've never done it before. Anything, and we've been living in a world that says money is evil, money is the root of all evil. Um, uh, Actually, the actual correct translation is the lust after money is the root of all evil. It's not even the love of money that's the root of all evil. It's the lust after it. That's a whole different thing. It, it it's it's loving. Well, first of all, love powers the entire universe. Love isn't, like you said, it's not on a greeting card. It's love is the power that creates everything. It's what created the universe and continues to create the universe and is it. That's what it is. Light is the vehicle that love travels in through the universe. So when we see light and it feels good, just the sun, just feeling the energy from the sun feels so good. But that sun is shining love right deep into us. And there's nothing more wonderful than to go out on a beautiful sunny day and open your arms and let the sunshine in. And when you do that, you're letting the sunshine into your heart. When you actually go, oh, what a beautiful day, you absolutely open your heart chakra and let the light in. And that's what we want to be doing all the time. But we don't just have to use the sunlight. There we have inner light that we are connected with. We're connected with inner light with the whole universe and all the light of the universe. And in my training and what I teach and how I work with light is in this chakra that's above the head is uh, called the upper room or the sacred room, and that's the most beautiful place you could ever be. And in that room is your white star, and that white star. All you have to do is think the thought of a white star by moving up into the space above your head, just with your thought, just with your imagination, or just kind of go, oh, something's up here. Let's, I'll be up here with my awareness, and you kind of explore it. You can close your eyes and explore this beautiful space. And then you can just think of lighting a white star. And just by thinking the thought, you activate your white star, which is your star forever. And that white star connects with all the light in the universe. And then with our thoughts, because we live in a quantum universe, we understand, beginning to really understand that thought directs energy and energy follows thought, right? We know that scientists can look at a particle, a subatomic particle, and find it not where they thought it was, but where they think it's going to be. And that's how everything is created, the whole universe. So we have the power to to direct light. And one of the first things to do when you're directing light is to pour it down, because it can be liquid, and pour it down through your head and your brain and through your eyes and your mouth and throat and down through your arms, and think of opening up little doors in the palms of your hands and letting it pour on out. And as it does that, a whole lot of psychic debris that we carry, all those little voices that we're always trying to get rid of, they're all kind of in connected inside our whole bodies or in our cells and molecules even and the light pours down and just starts washing it out. It's like having this wonderful wash inside of your body, through your lungs and your heart and your belly and down through your legs and out your feet. And as that light pours down through you, you're releasing. The light is releasing. The light is also intelligence. It's the intelligence of love. And it knows where to go to get what's ready to come and be released every time you do a meditation like this. So the light, and when you do this over and over again, you begin to actually feel what it feels like to have the light rushing through your body. And you feel, and then you start becoming aware of places where you have tension or pain, or an old memory pops up, and then you can direct the light to be a little stronger there. Just by thinking, and then you're thinking, because the power of thought is so amazing, but we let our thought be guided by the monkey voices, as opposed to coming into alignment. And that we do through the heart, that connection of heart and mind. I hope that wasn't too much.
It's beautiful, and I love the journey of that. Synchronicity. What is that light dancing intelligently, bringing that of love vibration, of your highest love vibration to you? How do you interpret synchronicity? And and then I have another question around light as well. When one is in resonance and aligned in their quantum field, oftentimes the feeling is of some form of trance, like this very vast feeling of inner peace, and at the same time, also this vastness of like, I don't even want to use my brain because I can just be. So then, how to balance that with with day-to-day to-do lists. So two questions. One is synchronicity, and then the other one is being light and operating in the day-to-day.
Okay. So, synchronicity is all that is our our physical. We have to go back. Our physical body is created by our immortal being of light, that part of us that lives throughout eternity and is part of all that is. But it has a uniqueness. It's not just it, and it creates the physical body. It also creates multidimensional bodies. So, but the whole, one step at a time. So it's created this physical body and the brain and all the parts of it, and it also is part of this great this great network of light beings all over the world, and everybody has their being of light. And there's this overall big understanding godness that everybody's part of. So once something needs to come into play in your life, that you're and it's time, and you're a mortal being of light, and you're working with getting more and more in tuned, and you're starting to meditate, and you're starting to be more conscious. You become more aware of the synchronicities, but they're always there, because your higher self is always trying to put things together for you so that it all comes together exactly as your immortal being of light wants it to happen. Then we have all this wonderful free will, and we keep thinking we can, and it's not that it's set in stone. I don't believe that our immortal being of light has this sort of overview where it would be wonderful if you we get um, learn certain lessons in this lifetime. And if we don't, no big deal. There's many more, and that's probably all happening simultaneously anyway. But so 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 the more we come into making, when we come into more alignment with our immortal being of light, then we become more conscious of what intentions to set, right? So as opposed to, I'm going to set the intention that I'm going to have a new Ferrari because that's what I want. That may not be what is the plan that is in your highest good. So you want to always we always want to keep going deeper into what's our highest good. What's our next step? Maybe there's a Ferrari in your future, but right this minute, what's my next step? And then you say, my intention today is to know what is want, what is wanted from me. What is wanted from me, not just by my higher self, but by the whole collective, because we're all working together. And then once you open that door, all kinds of things are coming together. And and then you learn that stuff that you thought was really important isn't important because or things that were so painful in the past don't have to keep driving your path, driving your present, and daily filling yourself with light, and your whole vibration changes, and you begin to vibrate at the vibration of the higher frequency of light and love energy, and not fear and and anger and
Scarcity.
scarcity. Scarcity. Yeah.
And
You're
it becomes so beautiful because people start bringing people start entering your life, and you start coming and watching us, and you start getting little activations, and you start like getting little ideas, and you start getting the support of the universe around you without needing to grasp onto the full picture of it, but having these little nutritious zaps of light everywhere you go, and you feel nourished, and you feel fulfilled, and yeah, and I love that. And when I listen to you talk about light, it's like this, it's like air, but with like condensed condensed nourishing powers that kind of enter into our systems is how I visualize it.
That's a wonderful description. Yeah, and that's beautiful. Yes, it sparkles, and it's many different colors. I mean, it's all the colors of the spectrum,
That's
and more, and so many more that we can't even imagine.
imagine, because our imaginations are limited to, this brain, which is in this dimension.
Right.
And the biggest challenge, and I'm sure, in our chamber, in our fusion chamber that's coming up, we'll talk about that. But it is the trust that's with this light, and with us living in this light, that we are actually going to feel happy, and what we want at the end of this wealth journey, right? Like what you actually are here and feeling fulfilled and enough, is the trust, that synchronicity, the trust that when you are embodying full light, like that is the process. So some people are afraid of letting go of the ego's wants, or letting go of current reality for the unknown. And what if this doesn't work? So that's still coming from a fear place. And I'm sure you know that, the ones who are watching. But how do we deepen that level of trust, not just from a place of okay experiencing the results, therefore I trust, but how? But what does trust feel like in the heart and from a light body perspective? When trust happens, what's happening molecularly or even on a spiritual level?
Well, it's happening with the light, it's happening in your body. So that the more energy, the more light energy and love energy you put into your body, the more you're you're taking yourself from being a separate being, separated from spirit, to be having spirit living inside of you, because the light is the light of spirit, the light of the divine. It's divine, so it's coming in. So you begin to realize that it's not trusting anything other than your own light body. And that's this great being of light that created you. You know, what one night years ago, I was standing in my backyard and having a issue with trust. Things were not, because things, first of all, things don't just, okay, now we're going to put light in our body and then it's all perfect. No, we're here to grow the light and embody it, and get down in the nitty gritty and clear out the muck and the mire that's, you know, the trauma of our culture and the trauma of our lives. Um, but when you put in, when you make a commitment to the light and to love and to, that means you're committing to yourself and committing to your growth and your path and your journey, and not anybody else's. Not, you're never, no, nobody here that is listening here has a path that is exactly like anybody else's. Nobody can teach you exactly how to do your life. You can learn different pieces from different people, different teachers, and then you take it in and you make the decision to be your guru. And so I forget where I was, but I'll come.
And that's the ultimate love when we're
Yeah,
talking about money is love.
trust. Right. So I was going to tell this story. So I was standing in the backyard and I was going through some really hard stuff. And the moon was just magnificent. And it was a crescent moon, it was a waxing moon. And I was standing next to uh, this beautiful tree. And trees we have to become really good friends with trees, by the way. And because they hold so much of the energy. So, and all of a sudden, I felt this being behind me and coming up closer and closer and closer until, and then it just wrapped its arms around me and came into my body and filled my whole energy field. Now, I had been working with that for many years, of knowing that that was a fact, that that was a truth, but the night in that moonlight, when it, and I was able, and I had never had a teacher who was able to teach me how to do that. It it was so now I can sort of help you know that your immortal being of light, first of all, is always with you. But if you let it come and stand behind you and kind of just lean back, like in a trust game where you just throw your body and your calorie caught, right? And just kind of fall back into it and say, I trust you. There's the trust. That's how you trust.
I'm so excited for our fusion chamber. Are you guys feeling it? Feeling that commitment to your unique light, feeling the courage to answer yes to doing you and to receiving the light that your body, your soul has brought in for your body to up level. I'm so excited for this. We're gonna do something really, really cool. And if I also may request, you can definitely say no, but I would love for the chamber also to include the elements of trust, commitment, in addition to money and light, because I feel like that's the part of love that is so potent and so sensitive too.
So one of the things about the chamber is, so this is a sacred fusion chamber. And fusion is the opposite of fission. Fusion scientifically is when two things come together and they come together and they come together and it's really hard and they finally come all the way together and become one. And then great power is created from that, as opposed to fission where they come together and go and blow everything up. So in this sacred fusion chamber, the reason its birth was to came out of the need to to lift this culture that we live in out of polarities, out of good and bad, out of haves and have nots, out of having money and not having money, being a victim or being a victimizer, all of these things that are separate, that separate us. And the world is getting so close to having to the place of this shift, because we've never seen it so polarized. It is completely polarized, and what we but we can't just go, oh, well, let's get rid of the bad. We can't just go, okay, well, there's good and bad. We'll just keep good, because that is part of the polarity in the way we think and the way our brains are even wired this way. But we're going to change them. We have to bring in the opposites into the fusion chamber. So if we bring in right now, if we bring in, if we want to bring in trust, then we've got to bring in distrust. We bring in money, then we're going to bring in love, because those two things don't live in the same, they live at opposite ends, right? Of the polar opposites, right? So what polar opposites are in. So my feeling is that we can bring in money and love and trust and distrust. And
Love it. Thank you. And this chamber is I was asking Barbara, what are one of the tools that she's been working with in the last couple of months as she's been just being in this beautiful space of self cultivation and just working on a multidimensional level. And she shared with me that she's been working with this chamber. And I asked her, what have you been working with this chamber? Tell me about this chamber. And so she told me about this chamber, and I'm just like, damn, like this is not only applying the powers of alchemy together, but it's also amplifying it. And at the same time, it's also extrapolating the magic of it into and elevating it into this new paradigm of wealth that we're talking about. The new paradigm of wealth where we are one, with the universe, with the light, and also with the divine feminine, right? The divine feminine and the masculine of what we talked about earlier. And so this is why we're here today, to activate this in our entire group. So yeah, is there anything else you want to let us know about it? I feel like the energy is, just about there where everyone's ready to jump into this experience of this chamber.
Well, let me just describe what the chamber
Go
is,
for it.
how it's formed, because we are going to form it, and each one, Hani and myself and you. It takes three people. It takes three people to create a fusion chamber.